Hi, BrenTech here, where tech is made simple. So last week, Tuesday, as I posted, Microsoft ended support for Windows 10, where it received its last Patch Tuesday security update last week, Tuesday. And I'll leave the video on the end of support link down below and in the end screen if you would be interested. And leading up to the end of support of Windows 10, as I have been posting and as I also see in the comments, one of the options, if your hardware cannot be upgraded to Windows 11 due to the strict hardware requirements, mainly the TPM2 and the CPU requirements, was to install a Linux distro or switch over to Linux, was to install Linux on your perfectly working hardware, which Microsoft thinks doesn't make the cut due to it being incompatible with Windows 11. Now, obviously, this was ticking a lot of people off the hardware requirements, and I see in the comments all the time, I'm switching to Linux. And popular Linux distros like Linux Mint, Linux Lite, and Zorin OS have been featured and have been spoken about in depth as popular options due to their look and feel being very similar to Windows 10, because you can see all left aligned. And if we head over to an image of Zorin OS, yeah, we can see looking very similar to what's going on in Windows 10. We've got the system tray looking very similar. Left aligned so-called start with apps and icons pinned to the taskbar. You got files, very similar layout to the so-called File Explorer. So that's what Zorin OS looks like. Now, while we are talking about Zorin OS, Zorin Group, who is the company who maintains the distro, launched Zorin OS 18 on the same day that Microsoft ended support for Windows 10, which was last week, the 14th of October, which I think was a very good marketing move. And it does seem that this has paid off, because obviously there are users of Windows 10 who run perfectly good hardware, who don't want to toss a perfectly capable PC on the e-waste pile and would rather move to Linux than, waste more money on a new PC when the one they've got is working perfectly. Now, getting back to launching Zorin OS 18 on the same day, it seems that this has paid off in regards to the marketing that was done. Because if we head over to X, it says Zorin OS 18 just reached 100,000 downloads in little over 2 days. Over 72% of these downloads came from Windows, reflecting our mission to provide a better alternative to the incumbent operating systems from big tech. Thank you for making this our biggest launch ever. So in 2 days, it reached 100,000 downloads. So I think that Zorin Group's so-called marketing has paid off. Now, this is still a drop in the ocean to Windows users, even Windows 10 users. But nonetheless, I think the so-called marketing has paid off. And as posted by OMG Ubuntu, I'll leave the post linked in the description. It is said, and I'm quoting, "We can thank Microsoft for making free software feel less like an ideological choice and more of a rational one." Do you agree with that? Do you think that the end of Windows 10 is going to draw enough Linux users over to reflect in its market share in regards to competing with Windows in the long run? Let me know your thoughts down below. Always interested to hear. Will those users stick around for good on alternatives like Zorin OS, Linux Mint, Pop OS, Linux Lite, Ubuntu? Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll be interested to hear. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.